There, we're live. Hello, everybody. We hope people are going to join us because we had to start a new live because we had a few tech issues, as you do. Anyway, I'm Harriett from With You in Mind, and today I have with me April Hamm. And what's the name of your Substack?
I'm joining from We Should Be in Therapy.
Amazing. We should be in therapy. So today, as you know, my series Facing Challenges is about living with adversity. And today April's going to talk to me about her story. April is an author of a book called A Childhood Secret, The Piano Lesson, and an intuitive arts facilitator with a background in neuropsychology, public health, and music. April's work explores mental health, spirituality, creativity, and recovery. And today we'll be talking about how she rebuilt her life and sense of purpose after her original plans were profoundly disrupted. So, welcome today, April. Really appreciate you joining us and being willing to share your story. Maybe
Thank you
you
for
can.
having me.
Great. So maybe you can start by taking us back in time a little bit to growing up and what led you to find or discover that you had struggles with your mental health.
hmm Well, growing up, we had mental illness in the family,
Hmm.
but I didn't know that I had any mental illness myself. By all accounts, I was, you know, smart and healthy and all of those things. I enjoyed doing puzzles. I didn't know that I had any challenges really until adulthood.
Hmm.
Well, well, I'm not telling the whole truth. I did have challenges in school.
Okay.
I
Uh-huh.
yeah, but the thing is, the way that my challenges were dealt with were not from a perspective of, oh, April has problems.
Mm.
When I had challenges in school, people thought, oh, April is so smart, she must be bored.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I
Yeah.
was allowed to skip a grade in school
Hmm.
and continue advancing and that sort of thing. And
Okay.
so no one ever thought April is having the same types of challenges that other people in the family were having.
Mm. Hmm.
And so my challenges were really sort of overlooked.
Mm.
April must be bored. That's why she's behaving this way.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
it wasn't until I was in college that I first started going to therapy and started, feeling, that something wasn't quite right.
Hmm.
And at that time, it was sort of looked at from a perspective of, well, lots of college students are having problems with stress. And
Yeah.
so it was just sort of, it was still sort of looked at as a normal thing.
Mm. Hmm.
But then once I got to graduate school, that's when things really started to unhinge.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So
So just
I,
a small
yeah, go
recap.
ahead.
So when you were
Mhm.
younger, you were misbehaving, and they thought it was because
Mhm.
you were bored, and that could have been a symptomatic of, say, something like ADHD or some type of
Mhm.
neurodiversity, but it was probably less known back then, especially in girls. And
Mhm.
then fast forward, you go to college and you're starting to notice that you're challenged with certain aspects of your mental health. But how did it manifest, that sort of realization?
Mhm.
What were you struggling with exactly?
Well, I I would have trouble finishing assignments in class. I'd have to always ask for
Mm,
extra time. I
mm,
also just had this really sort of, I guess, wound up feeling. I felt very anxious all the time. I was very
mm,
unhappy as well.
mm,
And but and I just had this overwhelming sense of dread. I just knew something was wrong with me. I didn't know what it was
mm.
though.
Okay.
I also had a friend who was very concerned about me, and I don't want to. Uh, some of it's kind of personal, but she was very concerned
Mm.
about my behavior. She thought that I
Yeah.
was just sort of out there living a life that a lot of people only dream about. I'll just say it that way. She just
Okay.
thought that my behavior was really wild.
Yeah. You
And
wild thing.
and I didn't think anything was wrong with myself. I thought I was
No,
fine,
you were having
and,
fun.
and, and as far as that was concerned.
Yeah.
But I did have this overwhelming sense of dread, and like something was really wrong.
Hmm.
But like I said, at that time, the counselors just, were sort of thinking, it's, yes, you're very stressed, but all the students here are stressed. It's a competitive
Right.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And eventually I did see someone outside of the school who did
Mm.
diagnose me with ADHD and anxiety, and
Hmm.
I started taking medications for that.
Right.
And
Okay.
yeah, and that all seemed fine with me. Those diagnoses didn't seem terrible, you know.
Mm. Hmm.
And I should say at the time, in school, I was studying music and psychology, so I, knew
Mm.
a good bit about, about different diagnoses,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
and I had a chance to work in the field, and so, um,
Mm.
you sort of hear things about different diagnoses, and some of them
Mm.
seem better or worse than others, and those didn't seem too bad to me, so I was fine with
Hmm.
those labels.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward a bit, as I was mentioning, I went off to graduate school, and
Mm.
I was feeling worse and worse. I started having more trouble with my sleep,
Mm.
and really wasn't functioning very well.
Yeah.
Um, and I went to see, the person on the campus at that school, the
Hmm.
psychiatrist.
Right.
And this is when I started disclosing more about my spiritual beliefs, and this is where
Mm.
I have some trouble with the profession, because
Mm.
I feel that not all clinicians, but many clinicians are not very knowledgeable about different cultures and different
Mm.
beliefs, and they can confuse
Right.
people's values and beliefs with symptoms. Because I shared
Yes.
some things about my personal beliefs and my
Mm.
spirituality,
Hmm.
and she automatically jumped to that this is, some sort of psychosis, and gave me a
Oh
label of
gosh.
bipolar disorder.
Yeah, that's such a good point because, as a therapist, I don't think I wouldn't jump to any diagnosis anyway, but when you hear things that are in tune with your belief, perhaps it's something that therapists just wouldn't know, but nevertheless, they
Mhm,
shouldn't jump to a conclusion, oh, there's some sort of psychosis going on.
mhm.
It should be explored more thoroughly. So that's, yeah, that must have been awful for
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. And now that said, it's quite possible, maybe there were other symptoms that I had that gave her that conclusion as well.
Mm,
But
hmm.
it just
Yeah.
seemed to me that those were the clues that were
Mm.
the things that I was saying that led her to believe that at that
Right.
time.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so when I spoke to some of my mentors and other people
Mm.
that knew me, they were
Mm.
very concerned. April, don't take the medication. You do not have that, that sort of thing.
Mm. Hmm.
But I was, at the same time, I was very, I was very unwell. I didn't feel
Mm.
good. I wasn't
Mm.
sleeping. I knew I needed to do something, and I didn't have anything else to go on. I didn't know
Right.
about going and getting a second, a real second opinion, seeing a different doctor. I didn't really, I just,
No.
I thought I could trust the doctor that I saw on campus. So I just took the
Mm. Hmm.
medicine and, you know,
Yeah, did what you were
experienced all
told
kinds of side
almost.
effects. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Gosh. Yeah, so really
so
struggling with side effects. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And
Mm.
long story short, school did not work out at that
No.
time.
Yeah.
Um, and to me, it's just sort of uh, typical of the experience that having been around at this point, lots of other patients, I've done lots of support groups at this point,
Mm.
and,
Hmm.
hearing the stories, you just kind of get used to hearing the same story again and again of people,
Mm.
um, trying lots of different doctors, lots of different medications.
Mm.
Um, and so while it initially was very devastating for me, at this
Mm.
point, I feel like, well, why not me? There's nothing special about me that
I
this
see.
should not
Yeah.
happen to me. I'm just
Yeah.
like everybody else.
Mm.
So,
But that's quite a hard
um,
hurdle sometimes, isn't it? When you have some,
mhm,
really crushing diagnosis or some real struggles, you kind of think, well, why? But and that's part of the
yeah,
phase, isn't it, before you can get to a
mhm,
place of more acceptance. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So what
But I
helped you, would
didn't
you
give up.
say? Oh, so you didn't
Mhm.
give up. Yeah.
I didn't give up at that
No,
time.
no.
I went to work for a little while. I got a job teaching at
Hmm.
first, and then
Okay.
I was able to go and work back again in the mental health field, doing research with another one of my mentors, and
Hmm.
then and I worked in a hospital, um, and eventually I went back to graduate school, tried
Hmm.
again,
Okay.
and this time
Hmm.
I got became unwell again.
Right.
And this time I was experiencing more severe symptoms.
Mm.
Um, but the, and I'll share the symptoms I was experiencing, but
Mm.
also the challenges that I have again with the profession. Some of the
Sure.
symptoms that I was experiencing were things like I was there was a weird smell that I kept
Mm.
experiencing,
Right.
and I'm not clear if the clinicians thought that I was hallucinating the smell,
Hmm.
but my mother, when she came to visit me, um, I actually identified the smell. She said that she thought that there was sulfur in the water in this location.
Oh, so
And
she
my
could
mom
smell it
was,
as well.
yes.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
think that I was hallucinating this.
No.
But
No.
it was, it wasn't, it didn't seem to be bothering anybody else. It was only bothering me. So it's
Right.
like I had a
Okay.
high sensitivity to
Yeah.
this.
Hmm. Okay.
And then, but the thing that seemed to be a problem for other people is that I had sort of shut down. I wasn't
Mm.
speaking. I was not able to
Mm.
leave my apartment. Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
and so my family was very concerned, and they,
Mm.
I wasn't able to go to class. I was in sort of a shutdown. I
Right.
don't have a diagnosis of autism, but
Hmm.
it really resembled what you would consider like an autistic shutdown.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
and so I didn't know that at the time, but looking back,
Mm.
that's what I'm thinking.
Mm. Hmm.
And
Makes sense.
but nobody knew that, and so they had me admitted to a psychiatric facility at that time.
Hmm. Okay.
And so the the scary part of it is that
Mm.
when you're involuntarily committed,
Hmm.
is that usually, and I'm not sure how this is in other countries, but here in
Hmm.
the US, when you're involuntarily committed, the police are usually involved.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they call the police. It doesn't matter if you're
Hmm.
nonviolent, if you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, they call the
No.
police,
Hmm.
and you're carried away in the back of a police car in handcuffs as if
Gosh,
you're a
that's really
criminal.
scary, isn't it? God.
It really is. And so here I
Yeah.
am, shut
Mm.
down, not talking to
Mm.
anybody, terrified.
It's
I was having
appalling.
all of these feelings.
Mm.
The other thing, in terms of symptoms that I was having at the time, was this overwhelming sense that I was going to be arrested.
Ah,
And that was one of the reasons why I felt like I couldn't go anywhere, is because I had
right.
this terrible feeling if I went anywhere in public that I would be
Mm.
arrested by the police and
Ah,
humiliated in public.
how
And
ironic.
here, lo and behold, what
Yeah.
happens is that the police have come to my apartment, handcuffed
Yeah.
me, and put me in the back of a car and transported me off
Unbelievable.
to a hospital.
Yeah. And
Right.
yeah, you didn't even have to leave your apartment for it in the end. It just came to
Right.
you. But that's
Right.
appalling though,
My
isn't it?
worst nightmare has come
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And
How awful.
so,
Oof. Mm.
and then I get to the hospital,
Mm.
and I'm being questioned by the admitting psychiatrist. He
Mm.
actually has me put my hand on the Bible and swear that I'm telling the truth about my symptoms. This is
Right.
the most bizarre part that to
Yeah.
this day I can't fathom. That
Mm.
is unusual. That's not part of any typical
No.
admission process. I'm not sure why
No.
he did that.
Bizarre.
Um,
Yeah, because it's how does he know what your faith is, or if you have faith, and if you
mhm.
didn't, then it would mean nothing anyway. So it's
Right,
very odd.
right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, it was not a court of law.
No.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure why he
Mm.
did that.
Yeah. Okay.
And and then while I was in the hospital, and this is my very first time in a hospital,
Mm.
one of the um, techs, like nursing assistants,
Mm-hmm.
gave me some advice. He said to make sure to take my medication, do
Mm-hmm.
everything the nurses ask,
Mm.
participate in the milieu. That's what they call it. In other words, go to group, be
Right.
involved. This was
Yeah.
great advice. If you
Yeah.
want to get
Mm-hmm.
out of here, make sure you do all the things,
Yeah.
don't stay in your room, talk
Mm-hmm.
to people. And that
Mm.
was great advice because it meant that I'd be able to go in there and get out in a reasonable amount of time. I
Yeah. Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
be
Mm-hmm.
stuck in there for weeks and weeks.
Mm.
But at the same time, that person was hitting on me. And so that was another thing that
Oh my
made my first
goodness.
hospital admission very unusual
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
scary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So all of those things
Mm.
I wanted to share, just,
Mm.
to say that being admitted to a psychiatric facility involuntarily can be a very
Mm.
scary process.
Yeah.
At the same
Absolutely.
time, um, sometimes I do think it is necessary,
Mm.
depending on your state of mind, and it can be helpful.
Yeah.
I've been
Mm.
stressing that this was my first time being admitted
Mm.
because I've been admitted to a hospital now a total of 4 times.
Have
I
you?
was admitted
Okay.
3 times
Mm.
in a short time span that year.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Okay.
that I think the third time was probably the most helpful time in that first set of series of
Mm.
times.
Mm-hmm.
By
Okay.
the third time that I was admitted, I had become suicidal. I was so devastated because by that time I was really feeling like my life was over.
Yeah.
I had this very promising career. I was working on a
Mm.
PhD in neuropsychology,
Mm-hmm.
and now it turns out I've got a diagnosis myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How, like, I had
Mm.
never heard of that. That,
No. Mm-hmm.
in hindsight, that tells you how sheltered I was and how unexposed to the world that I was, because actually there are
Mm.
lots of people, who have mental illness who are
Of
pursuing
course.
all kinds of careers. I
Absolutely. I
know
mean,
that now,
yeah. I mean that's what they
and of
call the
course,
wounded helper.
that you have a whole
Yeah.
show dedicated to this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Um,
yeah, I have mental health
but
issues as well, which I've not, shielded or lied about.
yeah,
And I think so many people that I know, therapists, have their own challenges, and that's one of the reasons a lot of
mhm,
people go into the profession because
mhm,
they're passionate
mhm,
about it and want to help other people. So
mhm,
yeah, you're absolutely right. But
yeah.
when you went back in for the third and fourth time, were you taken in for similar symptoms, or had they progressed the diagnosis by then? What was going
Well,
on?
they kept the same diagnosis of bipolar disorder. By
Mm.
the third time, what had happened is that I had become severely depressed,
Mhm.
and I had a plan um, to end my life.
Right.
And that's probably the lowest point that
Mm. Mhm.
it went. I
Yeah.
never made any attempts, but I did have a
Right.
plan.
You did. And
And
was that when did you have the plan before you went in, before you were institutionalized again?
mhm, and
And
yes, and
then they found
that's
you.
kind of
Yeah.
what happened, is that
Mm.
I was going to therapy,
Mm.
and I shared the plan with my therapist.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
um, at the end of our session,
Mm.
she said, "April, I can't let you go home."
Yeah.
And
Mhm. Good.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, that was my third time riding in the back of a
A
police
car.
car. I was quite
Yeah.
used to it by then.
Yeah.
It didn't make it any
Yeah.
better, but
Unbelievable. No.
you know,
Did they
um,
cuff you again as well?
and they did. It doesn't matter what your behavior is. You
No.
don't have to be
Mm.
acting out or misbehaving or violent. You don't have to
No.
be any of those
Yeah.
things. But I guess I
Mm.
guess their thinking is that anything can happen at any time, and so
Yeah,
as
I
a
guess
safety
so.
precaution, they
I
just put
guess
you in
so.
handcuffs.
But then,
Um,
it kind of, it's like they should have to give some sort of assessment on what's going on before
mhm.
they do that, because with some conditions it could really be very triggering, couldn't it? And I
It
mean, as
really
you
can.
discovered, it was very scary.
Right.
So yeah, I'm
It
surprised.
really is.
Mm.
It really is.
Mm.
So I don't like that aspect of it at all. But
No.
um, I suppose that they just simply do it as a safety precaution, kind of like wearing
Yeah.
gloves in the hospital, you know.
Yeah.
So um,
But it would just be
that
nicer if they
that's
could
that.
sort out a better process, isn't it? Rather than just coming
Hmm.
in like you've been caught for a burglary or something, or and just taking
Hmm.
you away like that.
Hmm.
If they had a site, I think in the UK, there is the police do get involved, but I think there's also a psychiatrist on board, so that they
Hmm.
join forces, as it were. So it's not just the police, which is
Right.
probably slightly kinder, because the
Right.
police aren't skilled in mental health, particularly, are they? So,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, it's very interesting to
Yeah.
hear. Mm,
Yeah. I do think that
mm.
there are some states and some locations where they have social workers who are
Yes.
involved.
Yeah,
And I think that that's the best situation that we can
definitely.
hope for.
Yeah.
And
So,
so, go
yeah,
ahead.
so going back to, sorry, I interrupted you a bit. So going
Mhm.
back to the last time you had a plan this time, and your therapist said, right, we've got to send you back in. So you went back in, and by all accounts, you had bipolar, and you were on medication as well at this time too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So take us
Yes,
forwards. What
and
happened next?
yes, and so by this point, now initially when I was first hospitalized and started on medication,
Hmm.
you'll remember that I was not necessarily on board with this diagnosis. I'm
No.
thinking they don't know what's going on with me. They've misdiagnosed me. I'm a very spiritual person. They can't possibly
Mm,
have this right. And I've been in
mm,
school for this. This has a terrible prognosis. This can't be right.
mm,
They haven't taken into account, all of these other things.
mm,
And no one else has ever seen this. I've seen these other doctors and they didn't
mm.
see this.
No.
And so after I got out of the hospital the first time, when I went home, I did not take the medication. And so of course that led, of course, back being hospitalized the second time. And
Mm,
then,
mm,
I'm spiraling into the depression aspect of it. And
mm,
that led to the hospitalization the third time. By the
mm,
third time though, I had sort of a change of mindset and I was really wanting to not be in the hospital. I was really wanting
mm,
to turn my life around. And
mm-hmm.
I met a doctor who gave me a book called An Unquiet Mind by Kay Redfield Jamison. Maybe
Okay.
so a lot of you
Yeah.
may be familiar with it.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
she's a clinical psychologist who has bipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really my first time ever hearing about someone with this diagnosis who was doing something positive, who
Yes.
had a
Yeah.
good prognosis,
Mm-hmm.
and so I read
Mm,
that book and it really gave me a more positive outlook on the
mm-hmm.
diagnosis. And so I
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, if I
Mm,
accept this diagnosis for myself, maybe
mm.
it's possible that I can go back to school. Maybe it's possible that I can do something positive with my own life. It
Yeah.
just gave me more
Mm,
possibilities for myself, seeing that there was someone else who
yeah.
had done
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
And that's a
And
really
so I
important,
decided, mhm,
sorry, but that's
yes.
a really important point,
Mhm,
isn't it? Because if you're given a diagnosis and just left in the dark, you don't know all the different stories and outcomes. And you might just, if you
mhm,
Google, you might just come to the worst scenario, whereas actually managed well, these conditions, you can live with them and lead a normal
mhm,
life. You might have setbacks
mhm,
and so on, but there's a lot you can do and lots of possibilities. So it's quite a message, isn't it, we've got here. If you do have a diagnosis or you're feeling any sort of symptoms and fearing that the quality of life might not be there, well, actually, with the right help, you can get back to a decent life, which you're proving now, aren't
mhm.
you, April? Mm,
Absolutely, thank you.
mm,
Yes. So I decided by the third hospitalization that I wanted to make the most of my time in the hospital,
mm,
that I was no different than the other patients. That was another
yeah.
thing. The other times in
Mm-hmm,
the hospital, I thought, I'm not like these people. They're
mm-hmm,
different than me. I'm different than them, that sort of thing.
yeah.
But by the
Yeah.
third time, I,
Mm-hmm,
I decided I'm just like
mm,
them. They're just like
okay.
me.
Yeah.
We're all here trying to get better.
Mm,
And so I decided, to really make the most of my time there, to try to get well,
mm,
take my
mm-hmm,
medicine, listen to the
right.
doctors, go to the groups, all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm,
um, and it was really helpful. And so after
mm,
that, I didn't go back into the hospital for over
mm-hmm.
10 years. I only went
Okay.
back in the hospital again last year because I
Okay.
I had because my space got really messy and I lost some pills and forgot to take them. And
Oh, okay. So you had a relapse. Yeah.
I had a relapse. And so
Oops. Have you got a cleaner now,
and
April? Keeping your house tidy.
and right. That's the message of the day.
Yeah. Keep your apartment tidy.
Right. Yeah.
Oh. Easily
Yeah.
done though. I mean, I do know a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of patients, especially with ADHD, who
Mhm.
want a lot of structure and can get confused, and yeah, I mean, can forget to take them and lose them. So it's an issue, isn't it?
Mhm.
You need a safe
Mhm.
place. Yeah. Okay. And I'm glad you're
Mhm.
not. Well, we're laughing with you here. We're not laughing at you, because it was a very difficult situation, but you're giving us the opportunity to laugh at the situation that you were in. But
Mhm.
anyway, so you went back into hospital, and then they helped you with the medicines to get back on track. Did you have to stay there for a while, or did you just get the
I
pills and come
did. I
home?
stayed
Yeah.
about, I feel like it might have been about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Quite a while.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, yeah. But,
mhm.
I'm happy with that because, uh, a lot of times, I think that the minimum hold is usually or the maximum hold or something is right around maybe 3 days, 72 hours.
Oh, okay.
24 to 72 hours is usually, about
Mhm.
the time that they will keep you.
Right.
Um, so I'm glad that
Yeah.
they,
Mm.
didn't just take me in and, put me right out without
Yes. Yeah.
actually helping me to get better.
Yeah. It was
While
safer. Mm.
right,
Mm.
while you're in there, you're not very happy with being stuck in there.
No,
But
no.
but by the time that you're
Mm.
getting out, you're pretty thankful because you do feel a lot better. And
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
I made some good friends while I was there,
Did
so
you?
that was
Okay.
nice. I did,
That's a
yeah.
nice side effect, isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm,
And you're still in
mhm.
touch with them, and how are they doing?
Well, that's the other thing.
Mm.
I've
Oh,
misplaced their phone numbers, so
April.
I'm
Oh. Well,
I
maybe they've got
well,
yours.
yes, and I'm hoping that they will reach out,
Yes.
then that
Yeah.
I hope that they understand that,
Yeah, I'm sure.
we all exchange numbers on little pieces of paper because they don't allow you to have, you know, have too many things while you're there. So
Of
we had little pieces
course,
of
of
scratch
course.
paper, and
Yeah. Oh gosh, you've probably all lost your bits of
so
paper then, haven't you?
that's so true.
Oh dear.
I know I have it because I didn't throw it away, so I know I
Okay.
have it. I'll just
Yeah.
I'll like find I will stumble upon it at some point,
Yes, you
and
probably
then I'll reach
will.
out, and I just hope that they remember me.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. It'll be April, the one that loses things. Oh, well, that's. I hope you do find it because it'd be lovely to sort of catch up, wouldn't it, and swap notes and how you're all
Mhm,
progressing. That's nice. I mean, on a good,
mhm,
on a serious note, it is great, isn't it, to have people that know what you're going through and have had shared experiences as well to be able to talk about it and feel good, that you've got that support and normalize it.
mhm,
Mm,
mhm.
okay. So you came out, you were feeling better again. And what age were you at this stage?
From last year, or in
Oh, was it? Oh,
the
it was last
early
year, wasn't it? When you lost your pills?
the
Yeah. So yeah, it was only last year,
yeah,
wasn't it? You're quite young though,
yeah.
anyway, aren't you? Anyway.
Well, I turned 44 this year.
Okay. Yeah, you're young.
Mhm,
You're young
thank you.
by my accounts. But and you certainly look even younger. So you're doing well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. And so now, what's the confirmed diagnosis? Have you got one? Is it still
Mhm,
bipolar? Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
when I was hospitalized the very first time, they actually
Hmm.
diagnosed bipolar with psychotic features,
Right.
and so it's changed a few times. One doctor diagnosed bipolar 2,
Mm.
and then others have diagnosed bipolar 1.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and the difference is, of course, if you've had a manic episode in the past before. So,
Yeah.
um, and I
Mm.
have. So,
Okay. Okay.
so I think bipolar 1 is probably the correct diagnosis. The
Okay.
reason that I do continue to say that I have been misdiagnosed is because the definition of misdiagnosis is if the diagnosis was incorrect or incomplete. And
Right.
I do think
Okay.
that the diagnosis was incomplete because they never
Mm.
did address the possible autism, and they never did address the trauma, the history of
Mm.
trauma. Like, I was only
Hmm.
diagnosed with PTSD just in the past 2 years.
Right.
And so I think that if they had done a
Mm.
more thorough and complete evaluation when I was first hospitalized, I could
Mm.
have gotten the help that I needed a lot earlier,
Yeah. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
suffered a lot less,
Yeah. Because
and
like
a
you
lot.
said in the very beginning, there was a shutdown, wasn't there, which could have well have
Mhm,
been, well, you look back and think it was autism at that stage.
mhm, mhm.
Um, so
Yeah.
so now will you try and get an assessment for those things as well or not?
Well, I did get help for PTSD starting
Yeah.
2 years ago. I went into a women's program that was
Mm,
really helpful,
mm,
and so I've really like that. That was probably the best, one of the best things I could have done for myself.
okay.
Um, like,
Hmm.
and I just, that's one of the things, aside
Mm,
from the medication, like, that's one of the things I really recognized, that if I had gotten help for the
mm,
PTSD
yeah.
along the way, that would have
Yeah,
been
that
really
would help.
helpful.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
another message, isn't there? So it's sort of thorough examination and
Mhm,
looking back. And
mhm,
may I ask, April, what was the
mhm,
PTSD relating to? And you don't have to
mhm,
answer if you don't want to, just interested.
mhm. Yeah, so it's relating to some trauma in childhood as well as in my
Okay.
young adulthood.
Right.
And
Okay.
some of it I did talk about in the book that I have out right now, the A
Mm-hmm.
Childhood Secret, the piano
Mm-hmm.
lesson.
Okay.
Um, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I've started reading that book and I didn't get to the end, but
okay.
I'm
Okay. Well, I
hooked.
don't
So
want to give
everyone
anything
read the
away.
book. We'll put a link in it at the end. But yeah, so do
I
tell
don't.
us.
Yeah. Okay, I don't want to put out any spoilers, but what I'll
No.
say is that um, I did experience some trauma in childhood as well as young adulthood, but
Mm,
I it I completely forgot
Mm.
it after a point.
Wow. Yeah.
And during the pandemic, during the lockdown part of it, I started to recall a lot of those memories.
Mm.
And at the time, I was not in therapy. And so it
Mm.
was really a challenge to sort of, bring up all of those memories on my own. And the way
Mm.
that I sort of dealt with it was just to sort of start writing about it online and sort
Mm.
of just, seeking community that way.
Right.
And
Yeah.
people really seem to resonate with the story,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and that's when I decided to publish the first part of the story in a short story
Mm. Mm-hmm.
on Amazon.
Okay.
But
Mm.
that
So
that's
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, so that was the trauma that gave you the diagnosis of PTSD, but you'd almost, you jumped forward into adulthood and it wasn't forefront of mind. So you didn't
Hmm.
realize that it was contributing to your mental health struggles,
Right. I didn't
which
realize
was,
it was
yeah.
contributing, but
Mm.
like I'd been having nightmares
Mm.
and experiencing a lot of hypervigilance and a
Right.
lot of
Okay.
fear. Things
Mm.
like
Hmm.
being afraid, coming home and being afraid that there was someone at home
Right.
hiding,
Okay.
hiding, like
Mm.
maybe there
Hmm.
was somebody behind the shower curtain or someone in the
Yeah.
closet, things
Hmm.
like that.
Mm.
Needing to
Hmm.
call a friend to come over and check
Yeah.
out my home for me.
Hmm. Mm.
Call,
Hmm.
I think calling a guy friend, to come and check out, just kind
Yeah.
of look behind the
Yeah.
corners and
Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
um,
But that
and make
makes
sure the
sense,
house
doesn't
was
it?
empty.
Yeah, I mean, with
Yeah.
with PTSD, hypervigilance,
Mhm,
it is a thing. It's almost like it's a normal reaction to what's happened. You want to make sure you're safe.
mhm.
So yeah, I get that. But you don't
Yeah,
know what's
I
going on.
never made the
Mm.
connection. And I mean, even with
Mm.
my background in mental health, it's like you're
Mm.
you're not necessarily trained for your own mental
No.
health. You're not
No, that's the
trained in
thing. Yeah.
so,
That's the thing,
so
isn't it? You can help anyone
right.
else, but you can't help yourself.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I
Mm.
think I think that's a lesson also for training programs, is that they really could be built into there a bit more, how to take care of
Yeah.
yourself and seek help.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Definitely. Okay, so this was only last year. Now you've got the diagnoses, but PTSD, and that's helped you a lot. So tell us again about the place that you went to that you said was really helpful to you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that was a local program here in New Orleans, or
Okay.
actually just outside of New Orleans in Jefferson Parish.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
it was a program called TRIM, Trauma Recovery and Empowerment Model,
Right.
um,
Okay.
where where we met as a small support group of
Mm,
only
hmm.
women. We met
Mm,
once a week,
mm.
up for up to 2 years, and I did participate for the whole 2 years. And
Amazing. Hmm.
yeah, it was really wonderful. And
Mm.
uh, we actually, I have the book here that we used.
Okay.
Healing. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got my book covered up with stickers,
That's
so
okay. It
I
looks very
can't see the
colourful.
title of it. I can't see the title of it. I'm not sure if it's Healing Trauma, a Women's Workbook, something like
Okay,
that.
something like that.
Gentle
I'm sure we can dig it
step by
out
step
then.
guide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
good. Yeah.
yeah, but we like worked through the workbook each
Yeah.
week and did different activities,
Okay.
and we were able to process, to the
Mm,
extent
mhm.
that we were comfortable, and
Yeah.
all of
And
those things.
it
So.
was through that group that you discovered that you
Mhm.
had PTSD.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And was
Yeah,
there, yeah.
mhm, when we went in for the initial intake, we were
Ah,
given
okay.
an assessment of where we
Right.
were diagnosed, and
Hmm.
and that was sort of how we qualified to be a part of it.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that sounds amazing. And I think it just shows the power of having other people around you as well, that with sort of shared
Mhm.
diagnoses or struggles. And it sounds like it was a very healing place for you to be there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Mm. And would you say, I mean, PTSD is quite, a difficult diagnosis. How would you say that is at the moment for you?
I'm doing a lot better, and
Mm.
especially knowing, being more aware of it. We also
Mm.
learned a lot of coping skills. We
Hmm.
practice mindfulness,
Okay.
um, and just focusing on more being living more in the present rather than in the past,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
learning different exercises.
Hmm.
Focusing on our breathing and
Yeah.
practicing, sensory
Hmm.
exercises and things like that to kind of, if
Amazing.
we, have any, moments of anxiety, just things to bring us back to the present
Right.
moment.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Very helpful. Yeah.
it's really
And
helpful.
yeah. And did you process the trauma in other ways as well?
Hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, through EMDR or CBT, any other sort of help that you had with that side of
We
it?
we used DBT,
DBT. Okay.
dialectical behavioral therapy.
Dialectical.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, yeah, and that
Okay.
was really helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Ah. Okay, so that sort of brings us mostly up to date, does it, with all the
Hmm.
mental health struggles and diagnoses and how you dealt with it. But of course, the title of this podcast really is how it messed up your plans, and we can see how it's stopped you doing things. But tell us a bit more about the plans that you had and what you
Hmm.
had to do about those and where you
Hmm.
see it going now.
Yeah. So my plan
Mm,
was an academic path. I planned to pursue my PhD in clinical neuropsychology, and also and also I had a background in music.
mm,
And so I was very interested in music and the brain. And so my plan
mm,
was to integrate the two areas and to ultimately become a professor and doing research in that area in music
mm.
cognition, which was a sort of
Amazing.
a newer field.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I had been told that I needed to have a PhD in order to in order to pursue that goal. And
Right.
so that was why, when I could not complete graduate school the first time, I went back a second time.
Mm.
I ultimately went to graduate school about six times,
Oh my
and
goodness. Talk about
because
perseverance.
I kept trying, I just kept trying. I did eventually finish a master's degree in music, and
Amazing.
and several certificates, but
Yeah.
I never did finish my doctorate. But what
Right.
I learned is that
Yeah.
you do not need to be a doctor to make a difference.
No.
Um,
You say that
right.
again.
You don't need to be a doctor to make a difference.
Exactly. That's a
I
good
want
point. Good
everybody to
point.
know that.
Yeah.
In fact, you don't need any degree to make a difference.
No,
You just
you
need a
don't.
passion.
Mm.
And so that's really the strongest message that I can convey today, is that
Mm.
your plans can fall completely apart,
Mm.
but as long as you have a passion for something, you can certainly rebuild your life on your own terms.
Mm. Hmm.
And that's what I
Absolutely.
did.
Yeah.
I took the skills that I had and the passion that I had, and I built my own program in music and psychology. And I
Mm.
studied music and the brain on my own and built a program for children, in where I was living at the time in New Orleans. And
Hmm.
I went out to schools and I said, I've got this program. I'd like to share it with your children. And they said yes. And
Fantastic.
that's what I did.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And tell us a bit more because it sounds incredible. Because we all know the
Hmm.
power of music, how it can just flip you out of a mood or help you release certain emotions. So even without knowing a lot about it, there's a logic there. So tell
Hmm.
us a bit more
Hmm.
about your organization.
Hmm. Well, the organization sadly does not exist anymore because I did have some more health challenges, but I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you what we did do while we existed.
Okay.
It
Mm-hmm.
was called Center for Musical Development and Wellness, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll tell you about one program called Art of Music that
Mm-hmm.
we delivered in a charter school with children that had this particular school had a lot of children that had social, emotional, and different learning needs.
Mm.
Um, a lot of the children had been exposed to violence. Some of the
Mm.
children were English language learners.
Okay.
Um, a lot of the children had different learning challenges. It
Mm.
was it was a very diverse group of kids,
Yeah.
and all of them, I would say, when I met them,
Mm.
surprisingly, weren't in love with music.
Amazing.
um,
Okay. Yeah.
yes, I won't say all of them, but about 90% of them, music wasn't their first choice of
That's
activity.
so wow.
And yeah, and that was shocking to me because
Mm.
of course, I was probably teaching about 300 kids at the time on different
Mm.
days of the week. And I'd go to this school and I'd go to that school, and um,
Yeah.
to be fair, I did burn out, and it contributed. I'm
Right.
sure it contributed
It
to the
sounds
health
like hard
problems
work,
that
to be
I
honest.
experienced. It was hard work, but it
Lots
was
of
worth
kids
it.
that don't like music.
I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it at the time.
Yeah.
But at this
Yeah.
one school, the kids really gave me a challenge because they didn't like it, and
No.
and
Oh.
and with all the challenges that they were facing, they really
Mm.
were not prepared for a traditional learning environment.
No.
And so I had to come up with something else.
Okay.
So the good thing for me is that they had developed a very positive relationship with their art teacher, and they loved art. And
Mm.
so I have a little bit of background in art and expressive
Mm-hmm.
arts, and
Mm-hmm.
so and I had done some training where with music and arts, and so
Mm.
I had a few tools in my toolbox where I could meet them where they were. And so
Right.
what we did was that we start each class simply listening to music, and I allowed them to draw and color whatever they wanted while we listened. So
Mm-hmm.
we'd get to have a little bit of sort of therapeutic time where they
Mm.
could express themselves, and they really
Mm.
enjoyed that.
Lovely.
And
Yeah.
then, yes, and then over time, I would be able to introduce different musical elements.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, for example, um, they would maybe learn how to draw a music symbol,
Mm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
like using things that they already knew. So, for
Okay.
example, if they knew how to draw a circle, then they
Mm.
knew a whole note. If they colored the
Mm.
circle in and added a line, then they knew the quarter note.
Right.
If they knew how to draw the letter Z and the
Mm-hmm.
letter C, they could put it
Mm.
together, and that was a quarter rest. Things
Right.
like that.
Okay.
And so, and then we could put circles together in the wintertime and make snowmen. And so just,
Excellent.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Made it fun for
And
them.
so, yeah, and
Yeah.
so using art, we could learn
Mm.
music and
Mm.
make and over time they were so creative. I mean, that was one
Mm.
thing I can say about
Oh.
these kids. They were so
Yeah.
creative. They just created the most elaborate scenes
Mm. Mm-hmm.
using musical elements, musical symbols, but
Yeah.
also all of the things that they were learning in art to make the most
Mm.
beautiful pictures. And
Fantastic.
and then over time they grew to become more curious about music, so then I could introduce instruments,
Mm.
and then they would want to play the instruments, and they
Okay.
want to learn more musical symbols to the extent that we could then do composition, and they put all their musical
Mm-hmm.
symbols together, and they could
Mm.
actually write out little musical compositions. So
Amazing. Yeah. You're
that
really
that helped me to
advanced.
actually develop. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
By the end of the school year, they
Mm.
they they really were quite doing quite well.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
that helped me to really put together an entire curriculum around the art of music.
Right. Fantastic. And so how many sort of intakes did you have? Groups of students did you sort of
Mhm.
work with?
So at that particular school,
Mm.
ultimately I was there for 2 or 3 years. I can't remember
Yeah.
now,
Oh,
2 or 3 years,
wow.
and they would bring in more students each year. And so
Mm,
I think maybe the first year there were maybe 100 students altogether, and
mm,
there would be, and each class would have between 20 and 30 students.
right.
And by the end of the time that I was there, there were either 2 or 300 students by the end of the time that I was there.
Gosh, it's a
So
lot. So
it
you've
was quite
changed,
a lot.
you really helped a lot of children. Um,
Mhm.
and you told me offline that also you're in touch with some of them still. Is that right?
Not at that particular school,
Oh, it's
but
another one. Okay.
yeah,
Mm,
a few of the other kids that I've taught over the
mhm,
years, I am still in touch with a few of
mm.
them. Yes.
And how are
Mhm.
they doing compared to how they were?
Those kids are doing quite well. They are
Yeah.
all grown up now. Some of them are in
Hmm.
college. Some of them are adults
Hmm.
now. I
Yeah.
can't believe it, how time flies.
Yes, yes, tell me about it.
Yes, yes.
But that's a
Mhm,
lovely
mhm,
story, isn't it? That how
mhm,
that sort of creativity can really help young people
mhm,
who, I guess, let's face it, talking therapy is not so easy with young people, but if they can
mhm,
express
mhm,
themselves with art and music combined, it's sort of a magic
mhm.
ingredient. So so that's a lot. It's a difficult history, in and out of hospital, confirming what you needed to feel well. Um, Tell us what your plans are for the future now.
Well, currently,
Mm.
I've been focusing on my writing, and I've
Mm-hmm.
started podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
and I am offering things like card reading. So I'm doing a little bit different direction,
Okay. Yeah.
with more like intuitive arts at this
Okay.
time.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am also doing music. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
some singing and songwriting,
Oh,
which I do plan
fantastic.
to share.
Good.
And
On
yes,
Substack?
sometime soon. Yes,
Good.
I will be sharing it on
Please do.
Substack.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm
Amazing.
not sure if I'll go back into teaching. I
Mm-hmm.
might, if I do, it will probably be online. We'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah,
Hmm.
okay. So, but any
Yeah.
plans maybe to reinstall, the teaching side with schools at all, or develop the programming at all, or are you going to put that down for a
I
while?
Yes. So I did prior, before. Well, I was able to present my findings at a music teachers conference, and
Okay.
that did go well.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I had talked about that I should probably
Mm-hmm.
try to publish, and I think I will do
Mm,
that. And
fantastic.
I'm just going to take one step at a time. But
Mm-hmm. Mm,
I, who knows what the future holds?
no.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I'm keeping
exciting.
an open mind about it, but
Yeah.
I still have all of my music things. I've got all my instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Wonderful.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well,
Yeah,
we hope that happens again because it sounds like it was a big success and you're obviously very good at putting it together and taking it forward. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that space, see what happens. So yeah,
thank
thank you
you.
so much for taking us all through, through everything. As a sort of parting word, what would you have you got any sort of key messages you'd give to people that, find themselves in a similar situation? You think you're fine and then something derails you like a diagnosis. You've been through a lot, but you kept bouncing back. What key messages have you got for other people experiencing this?
My message is don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you are going through a storm in order to move something out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the path that I was on, I think wasn't the right path. I thought it was the path. It was the path that I picked out.
Mm.
I'm a person of faith. I don't know if, not everybody has the same faith, but
Mm-hmm.
for me, the path that I picked out for myself wasn't quite the right path. I think that God had other
Mm.
plans for me. And I
Okay.
think that the more that I open myself up to what is possible,
Mm-hmm.
um, that what I had in store wasn't nearly enough, like that
Mm.
there's so much more that's possible for me. And I
Mm.
think the
Mm-hmm.
same is true for you,
Mm.
for others,
Mm-hmm.
that um that sometimes you have to get out of your own way,
Mm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
a storm that's coming in your life is, if you can think about it, is clearing the space, like
Yeah.
if you think
Mm-hmm.
of how a tornado clears out things, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a bad thing all the time,
No.
because when you rebuild, you can rebuild something even better.
Mm. Fantastic. Well, that's a
Yeah.
wonderful, optimistic ending, isn't it? But we go through. I mean, life is never tough. It's straightforward. We have ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it's about sort of holding firm and keep pushing forwards and sort of keep walking through. And at some point, you get to a clearing, as you've just said,
Yeah,
and hopefully life
absolutely.
settles. Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
feeling well now. Although you have to keep maintaining your health with well-being practices and which is a good segue to what you're offering as well, isn't it? Do you want to tell us about
Hmm.
where people can find more about you, what you offer, and your book?
Hmm. Yes. So people can find me on Substack. If they go to weshouldbeintherapy.com,
Mm-hmm.
I have a free creative first aid kit
Mm-hmm.
that has some somatic practices that help you with anxiety, help you to come back to the present, things like that. And my book is A Childhood Secret, The Piano Lesson. It's available currently as an ebook on Amazon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, well, thanks everyone
Thank
for
you
joining.
so
I can
much for
see,
having me.
yeah, you're very welcome. And yeah, all the best with everything. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us,
Thanks.
everyone. And hopefully, people who will see it later. Okay.
Yes.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.